Hi, how are you doing? This is Ben Fisher. I'm with the hostingnews.com, and here we are, the last day of HostingCon 2014 in Miami, Florida. And we have today with us a very special guest. This is Sam Renkema from SpamExperts. And for those of you who don't know who SpamExperts is, and by the way, shame on you if you don't know who SpamExperts is, they are a spam and virus control company. It's a SaaS-based solution, which means software as a service. They can also do a local-based install, so it's all software. It's not hardware, and this is really great. A lot of hosting companies use SpamExperts, and it's really easy to deploy and provision. But enough about me talking about SpamExperts. Let's hear from Sam. So, how you doing, Sam? Good to see you.
Nice to see
Right
you.
on. Every year, right?
Every year.
Yes. So, if you could tell us a little bit about SpamExperts, and more importantly, how did you even come up with SpamExperts in the first place? And if you could take us through the journey of that story to kind of where you are today.
Absolutely. It's a little fun story because I started the company nearly 10 years ago now, together with our current CTO, Andreas van Donselaar. And back in those days, we were studying in the Netherlands, and we had been working together in a faculty organization, in the board of a faculty organization. And we worked really well together. We became friends, and this program was for 1 year. And then after that, I wanted a new challenge, and I heard about a business plan competition. Now, um, I was studying finance, so I had nothing with IT really. But Andreas, I knew that he had an idea of combining technologies in a new way that it would be better at classifying email. So I asked him if he was interested in enrolling in this business plan competition together with me. And initially we thought it was just going to be a fun experience. We ended up winning the business plan competition. And in the jury, there was a guy that said, are you guys going to execute on this, or was this just a fun ride for you? And he was willing to provide us a little bit of cash to make a prototype of what we had thought out. And if we would fail, we would fail. If it would be a success, he would introduce us to a little bit of extra financing, because obviously, when you want to develop an email security product, there's a lot of development to be done, and you need to have a little bit of cash in your pockets to get there. Um, so this is basically how things started to roll. And in 2005 we got incorporated, and 2007 we basically had the product line as the very basics of our product line as we know it today, and started to really focus on the niche market of hosting providers and service providers in general, um, and really started to tailor our product offering to the needs of this market. And from there, it has been actually going pretty fast for us. So year after year, we've experienced a very rapid growth, leading also to last year that we were ranked in the fastest growing companies in Europe, Middle East, Africa region. Something is going well for us, and I think our clients like what we do.
It's pretty awesome. So you got a really good lucky break. I mean, you took some initiative. Basically, you put together a business plan, and you're like, "Hey, why not? I'll just go ahead and do this." It sounds like a good idea. Somebody says, "Okay, well, if you're serious about this, I like the idea a lot." And then you went ahead and you chose the hosting market basically as your channel. So why did you choose the hosting market in the first place? I'm assuming you didn't know that many people in the hosting industry at that time.
Good question, of course. So Dreas, our CTO, he had two smaller hosting companies when he was in high school, which he had sold by then already, of course. So he knew that market a little bit, and so when we had this great technology, and we're looking at an optimal way of deploying the technology, we started talking with these tech guys in the hosting community back in Europe, and asked them, so how would you optimally see email security deployed? And they basically told us, okay, look, there's all these open source tools out there that are delivered with our control panel vendors, etc. Then there were cloud-based providers in the market. There were plug-in type of solutions like the ComTouches and the what is it, Cloud Marks of the world. And there were appliance-based vendors in the market that would send up a piece of hardware with software pre-installed in it, and that would just be you could hang up that machine in the network. But so our service providers that we were talking to indicated to us that none of these solutions was optimal for them, because they said, you know what, we have the hardware laying around anyways. Why don't you guys do an installation of your technology on our hardware, where you guys manage the software side, and they make sure the hardware keeps up and running. So this is what we today call our local deployment, and over time, obviously, we had also cloud deployment for people that say, okay, we don't want to be bothered at all with hardware or machines filtering spam in our network. So please, reroute all the traffic to your systems, and send us only the clean email. So we have now 2 deployments. Um, and I forgot your question, to be honest, but I think I I answered most of it.
I think you answered it. It was why did you choose the hosting
Oh
industry?
yeah, no, good
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
there's more to that, because yeah, so we were talking with these hosting guys, and there seemed to be a demand for a unique solution. And then we started analyzing the market a little bit further, and saw that there was a trend starting, that hosting providers were looking to add additional services, right? Because the traditional pure hosting was kind of a commodity. There were a lot of competition in the market, and people were looking to differentiate. Plus, that the end clients obviously were looking at hosting companies more as their one-stop shop, where they wouldn't only get their domain and the hosting, but also the SSL and the email security, and I don't know, e-commerce, etc. Um, so we saw an opportunity there to really deliver a product where they could either clean up the infrastructure, save costs, etc., or on the other hand, build new revenue out of a professional email security solution. And yeah, that's part of the reasons why we selected web hosting market as a key focus area.
Oh, that's a pretty awesome story, man. And hey, you obviously you chose a great market, because now you've got very decent penetration into the hosting industry. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So our client base at the moment is spread out of, I think the last statistics I saw, 62 countries worldwide. And that is then consisting out of thousands of service providers, including larger names of the endurance group, for instance, like Bluehost, or in the UK, we've got Namecheap. In Asian Pacific market, we're dealing with the larger hosting and service providers. So yeah, our client base is really spread out over the world, and yeah, we got really fortunate with the growth that we have seen.
So you're really a tiny company at this point. That's what you're trying to say.
Absolutely, we are nice and tiny, and actually, obviously, we're a small company if you compare us to other companies in the market. Now, I know that you're kidding, but it's actually true, because our systems are so optimized that with relatively few people, we can manage a large group of clients, and that's actually one of the things that I love about being an entrepreneur, and optimizing. Well, I was going to use a few words that I cannot really say in an interview. Optimizing everything possible in an organization to really run an efficient, lean structure of a company, and I think we achieved that. And I think that answered your question again.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. So, moving on from that, I mean, there's two other things that definitely want to make sure that we talk about, and that actually it kind of it's a nice segue, and that is more about like the new type of channels that you're going to be going after. I know you're going to be going after the ISP and telco market, but you want to expand a little bit on that as to why you're going after the ISP and telco market, and the other types of markets that you're looking to kind of move and grow into as well.
All right. Um, yeah. So traditionally, we really focused on the shared web hosting and service provider market, and we really. I'm gonna come to your question. Don't worry about it. And for the reason, and we really separated ourselves from competition on a variety of points. So we have really cool integration modules for the back end of these service providers. We have a business model that fits, is very aggressively priced, whereas we deliver a premium service. Lots of different levels of control panel for each of the different types of users that a web hosting company deals with, and the end clients are dealing with. With weekly release cycles with new features and functionality entering the software, and That all said, we feel that this market has been pretty well covered, right? And well, the names that I mentioned before in the interview, also in terms of client base, we are getting at a point where we say, okay, this yeah, again, this market has been pretty well covered.
Saturated,
Obviously,
almost saturated.
well, no, there's a lot of growth opportunity still for us, and we're definitely going to continue focusing on this market. Um, but at the same time, we've experienced more and more demand out of the ISP and telco market. Also, partly maybe because of our integration options with, for instance, Open Exchange and companies like that that have a bigger footprint in that market already. Um, and yeah, so basically it makes sense because our services perfectly fit to this segment of the service provider market as well. So we're definitely going to be focusing more on that vertical in next months and years to come. And then as a third vertical, because earlier this year we were at the Microsoft Hosting Summit, and we saw that there's a lot of distributors and IT resellers still in the market that are looking for a competitive email security solution. Obviously, there's big names in that market, active like the Symantec's and the McAfee's, etc. Um, but we feel that we have again a very nice competitive product for these IT resellers at a different price point, and are excited to start competing in this market as well.
Well, that's great. I mean, by going after and targeting these three markets, I mean, there's a real benefit to the end user, because at the end user, at the end of the day, they are getting great spam, virus, and archiving type of protection from their web host. Which, as we know, I mean, anybody who's doing any kind of business needs to have a website. So, hey, awesome, man. That's really great. So let's talk a little bit about the product that, or about the kind of outgoing filtering product that you have as well.
Okay, yeah. So we started off with incoming filtering, and we filter spam and viruses out of incoming email. I don't think we actually really covered what we do. Well, that is part of what
We did back in the beginning.
yeah, okay, good. So this is how we got started with filtering incoming spam and viruses, and then we got more and more demand for a solution that would also filter the outgoing email and spam and viruses to protect IPs from getting blacklisted, right? And so we thought initially, you know what? Why don't we just turn around what we do for incoming email and we just push outgoing email through the same type of system? Doesn't work. Outgoing filtering outgoing email is a whole different game, and you need a whole different set of technologies for that. So we really invested that. I guess 4 or 5 years ago, we really started investing in that, and now we have a very neat product, which will obviously help service providers protecting their IPs from getting blacklisted by filtering out the spam and viruses. Um, at the same time, the system will generate reporting options to basically um, make it transparent for the service provider which accounts in the network are causing the abuse. So it's very easy for the service provider to go in and lock down individual users that got hacked and are sending out spam unknowingly or knowingly, and yeah, thereby clean up their infrastructure. And a neat thing that we're working within this product, a neat thing that we're working on at the moment is that, and this becomes a little technical then, but imagine that a service provider who's doing a lot of email for maybe say 100,000 companies out there, small medium businesses. Well, all of these small medium businesses are currently sending out their email in a way that they're used to, right? So we don't want to change anything there because um, that would require way too many people to have to update settings, etc. So all of these guys are sending out their email via the systems of the service provider. Now, what the service provider will do is they will reroute all of that outbound traffic via our filtering platforms. And whether that is a local deployment on their infrastructure or whether that is in our cloud, that doesn't really matter. Our systems will then filter out the spam and viruses out of the email, generate reports for indicating where that abuse came from. But then the new thing that we're developing is that within this massive mail flow, where no user is directly authenticating with our system, right? The service provider is just sending all of their mail to us. Our technologies will be able to automatically identify individual users and apply different sets of technologies or start auto locking, um, users where we see that spam is coming from. So there's going to be really granular. What is that word in English?
Granular.
Granular filtering technologies applied really on a per user level within this massive mail flow that the service provider is pushing to us. And that's really cool functionality. It's a bit nerdy, but it's really cool functionality.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that's pretty cool for that. I mean, I understand where it's really cool for the host side, right? It's kind of like how they'll use something like Cloud Linux, for instance, to be able to isolate an instance of abuse, right, or overusage. But what's really cool, I think, from the end user's perspective as a business, is that I may be on an IP that hosts 200 other customers or 100 other customers, whatever. And so by being able to isolate an individual account, take them off, you're protecting me because now my IP is not will have a less chance of getting blacklisted or spam housed or whatever the case may be. Same thing with virus protection. So you have virus protection. If Google sees that there's malware, coming from emails, you might have a big problem there. Anybody. I mean, that's just security. It's protection in general. So I think that's really great that you've been able to go ahead and launch that service.
Yeah, no, you summarized it perfectly. It's indeed for the end consumer. It's the biggest benefit is that they're secure that their email will always arrive where it's supposed to arrive, and yeah, the service providers are taking care of that for the end clients.
Well, hey, this has been Fisher. I'm with the hostingnews.com, and we are here with Sam Renkema from Spam Experts. So if you are looking for, I'm going to give him a plug, by the way. If you are looking for email, spam, virus, and archiving solutions, whether it's incoming or outgoing, I would say check them out, spamexperts.com. And hey, we're here with at HostingCon 2014, and we will see you next year in San Diego. Thanks a lot, Sam.
Thank you.